Well, the National Union of Students has a clear policy, and we don't believe it should come from students. We believe it should come from taxation. But can I just come back on something you said earlier, that you realised that you had to introduce some sort of funding system for students because the universities are saying to you they need more money. The universities have already said, Prime Minister, that £3,000 isn't enough. They need at least £5,000, and that's what worries us.
We're going to explore this question of the variability and the upper limit in a moment or two.
Yeah, but can I just come back on this essential point? Because in the end, what you're illustrating is exactly the point that I'm making. Look, the trouble about government is you've got to make difficult decisions. The money's got to come from somewhere. Now, at the moment, the fact is the taxpayer, I think a lot of people don't realise this, the taxpayer funds every student at university to a greater degree already than they fund secondary school pupils or primary school pupils. And that seems to be fairer than saying...
All right, let's explore this question of the debt that you're going to be saddling graduates with. Are you seriously telling us that the imposition of these fees will not deter pupils from poorer backgrounds from going to university?
I do believe that, yes. And the best example...
When did you start believing that? Because you didn't used to believe that.
Well, hang on a minute. The tuition fees that we introduced, we also remitted those for the families from the poorest income families. Well, but the reason I say I believe that...
I'm going back to 1994 when you were speaking at the launch of the Commission on Social Justice.
A social...
Well, I think
a
he'd say
degree
so
that
is
will
he,
help
actually.
society. We cannot not have doctors.
I know, but Julia, you know, with respect, so are the people who work as ancillary porters and cleaners in the health service too. They're doing a social job.
Let's move to the question.
I know, but this is... Sorry, this is...
I'll pay more tax back.
You will, because you're earning more. And this is the heart of the argument. Because the one thing I'm afraid people cannot escape from this, I'm sorry to be sort of hard back with you, but what people cannot escape from is that the money has to come from somewhere. Now, OK, but if it doesn't come from the system that we're describing, it comes from the general taxpayer, including people who will be on far lower incomes than you'll be earning as a doctor to pay.
Prime Minister, let's look at this question of the level at which these fees are set. Even under your proposals, you will not meet the funding gap that exists in higher education. What are you going to do to meet the gap between what you raise through tuition fees, £1 billion perhaps, and the estimated gap of 8 to 10 billion?
It's a good point, but the answer to it is the universities are going to be substantially better off.
Well, you're going to tax the kitchen porter, the hospital porter, the dustman and everybody else to pay for it, aren't you?
Well, sorry, you're coming at me now from completely the opposite direction. No, we're not having to increase that because we're actually managing to find greater income from fees. Look, that's why this argument's not just taking place in Britain today, it's taking place in literally every single developed country around the world. And, you know, as I say, I'd love to, it would be the most popular thing a politician could do, just tell you can get everything for free, but you can't.
Let's look at this question of the level at which the fees are set. You say this question of variability is absolutely critical. Dr. Goldstein, you're Vice-Chancellor of one of the new universities, University of Coventry. Yes. Currently called. What's the perception there?
Well, we're very concerned about the issue of debt. I just want to come back to that, because I think the Prime Minister is actually saying that if you're debt averse, don't worry, we're giving you a maintenance grant and you can spend that on your fees. Now, that doesn't seem to make any sense. You can't have it both ways, it seems to me. If it's a maintenance grant, it's maintenance, not for actually paying fees. So I think one has to be careful. The second thing about debt, and I'm sorry to take you back to that, but all the research in the UK suggests that debt aversion is a big issue.